that would be amazing, and we'll start now. So welcome everybody to our webinar today. Thank you for those who have dealt with us with some technical issues at the beginning. This seems, as I was saying, to be the new way of working during COVID, and we embrace it. It's just another challenge for us here today, and we could rise to the occasion. So my name is Janet Naclia. I'm a programs manager with Alberta Recreation and Parks Association. I would like to acknowledge that my spirit name that was given to me by Daryl Linda Brass is Muskiki Kihu Esqueo. And I would also like to acknowledge a very new Blackfoot name that has been given to me by John Chief Moon Sr., Amska Pitaki, South Eagle Woman. Thank you. I'm still learning how to say that, and it's a great honor to have that name given to me. And I think that's very important to acknowledge these traditions, because what we'll be talking about today are traditions that have been passed down to us as women. And so obviously we have a circle with us today. That's the webinar. It is part of an online group of programming that we're doing as part of the Alberta Recreation and Parks Association. We do have a culture camp called the Okotok Indigenous River Camp that is on the land, but due to COVID, we've had to be creative and move programming in a new way, which is why we're here today, and why we'll be able to extend this programming throughout the province. So I just want to first introduce quickly the ladies who are on the call today with us. We will be doing a smudge and a land acknowledgement, and then we will be talking in circle with the grandmothers are here today, but I first want to honor them by introducing those who are here today, and then we'll go into the teaching. So I understand everyone's, their screens are a little differently, so maybe wave as I introduce you. So Elder Jackie Bromley, she is Blackfoot, based here in Mohkinstsis in the Calgary area. So Jackie, do you wanna wave Jackie? Thank you. We have Elder Doreen Healy, who is also Blackfoot and has been very key in bringing this grandmother circle together. So thanks to Doreen for pushing this initiative forward. It's amazing. We'd like to honor Elder Kerrie Moore, who is also with us. She's Métis and Cree, calling in from Northern Saskatchewan. So thank you for making that trip from the north. Also, Elder Violet Marsh, who's who's also calling in from the north, up in the bush, I believe. So way to find that internet. You know, we're here to be resilient. So thank you. We also have Elder Rose Crowshoe, who is, we don't know where Rose is. She's somewhere in Treaty 7. So hi Rose, also Blackfoot, bundle keeper and a traditional knowledge holder. So thank you for all being here with us today. So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna facilitate, and we're gonna go through some protocol pieces and questions that many people have for many elders across the province. And obviously give it from that women's perspective, that grandmothers look into how these things could move forward in a good way. So I first wanna start by giving this. So these are bundles of tobacco that I would like to offer to our grandmothers today. And this is just special to me because my mom found this material. It's actually material that for my grandmother. So this is what my grandmother used to make blouses with. And so it's something that she had as a keepsake. And so I'm now offering this tobacco to all of you as a gift for sharing your knowledge with us today. And I figured I'll give this to you in person when we see you at camp. I think is that okay with everybody? Yeah. As a step for protocol. So I just wanted to share, because I know how precious you are to me. And so I wanted to honor that with this gift. So thank you for that. And so now we're going to start with a smudge. And I'm gonna invite Elder Crowshoe, Rose Crowshoe, to give us a teaching on the smudge. From that woman's perspective. We'll light our smudge, and then we'll do the prayer. And just for the note to everyone, as we do the prayer, we are going to stop the recording. And so we will invite you, as Rose is praying, to pray in the way that's significant to you, and then we start the recording. It won't affect any of your viewing, just for those who are going to be looking at this recording later. So I'd like to invite Rose forward and to share with us her teachings, and then we'll do a smudge and a prayer.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's such an honor to do the blessing and also talk about my new smudge, which is smudge. Really, in our like for our Bigani culture, it's usually the male that lights our smudge. We usually have a helper, a young boy. But today things have changed. There's less males. I'm just kidding. And so, anyways, and the smudge is calling to order, like the Westerners, they'll call to order a meeting. So we all call to order. That means we bring your thinking and what you're going to say to your heart. So that way, Creator can hear it and all the other beings around us. The teachings that I got are from my great-grandma, my grandma, and my mother. And also when I married into Richie's family, his grandma and his mother, they were teaching us too. And also with being in the Sundance Society, in the Blackfoot Sundance Society. So I know we're limited time, but this is what we use. We use sweet grass for just ordinary opening, but in each specific society or ceremony, there's different like sweet pine will be used for thunder medicine bundle. For Sundance, it should be the junipers. And those are the ones. So I'm gonna light the smudge,
and if anyone also has smudge, feel free to light your smudge as well and join us for sure. And so Patrick, I'll ask you now just to pause the recording. And so welcome back. So what just happened is we did, Rose did a prayer for us and all the elders prayed in their way. And so again, if you're joining us later, we just also say there's a smudge still going. Feel free in your own way to do your own smudge and to pray so that we could start this in a good way. So thank you for that. So next we're going to talk about land acknowledgements, because as we know, there are many protocol pieces about how to start something, whether that's a meeting, it could be your day, it could be a gathering, to acknowledge the place that you're at and the importance of the history that went before us. And we get many questions about what is a land acknowledgement, why do they happen, how do I do them? And so what we're hearing more and more from elders is that it's different than just reading something off a piece of paper. There's something about speaking from your heart when you're talking about the place that you're in and where you're situated. So myself personally, I am currently situated in a small town called Layalta, which is very close to the Siksika Nation. So when I go outside and I look at the land around me, I could feel it, or I sense the spirit of the people. I know that Siksika and the Blackfoot have walked these lands far before we have. And with that touching of the land comes a connection of a spirit. Respect that as I go forward in my work within the Mohkinstsis area, within Calgary, of where I normally am, because I understand that connection to place is key in how we work in a good way with our neighbors around us. So that is just the acknowledgement that I personally want to do today. But I would like to also hand it over to Elder Jackie Bromley. So she will also speak as someone who is here in the Blackfoot area, who's Blackfoot herself, where I'm based. I would like to invite her to speak to what that land acknowledgement means to her.
Okay, well, like you mentioned, Janet, it's always appropriate to provide a land acknowledgement at the beginning of an event or gathering. And I look at land acknowledgement in the spirit of reconciliation. I wish to acknowledge the land on which I work from, where the Bow River meets the Elbow River, the traditional territories of the Blackfoot. Name of this place that we're on is Mohkinstsis, which we now know as the city of Calgary. This is the traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Sikshikai, the Kani, and Kana First Nations. Other nations who are a part of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta also called this place home, which includes Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bear Claws, Wesley's First Nation. This territory is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta and Region number 3. And I'm just going to say this. I always bring this up when I do my land acknowledgement. It's a common teaching from many of the elders, is that as human beings, we did not just arrive in this time and place on our own. We carry the life stories and lived experience of our ancestors, just like my grandparents, and those who have preserved so that our generations can live life in a good way. Our stories carried in the land, in the rocks, in the rivers, in the whole environment, coexisted in such a way there was harmony between all beginnings within creation. We were capable of seeking treaties with each other to reserve life. It is those thoughts and peaceful energies that we breathe life into when we do our land acknowledgement. And it makes me feel good when I say this part, letting people know where we come from. And that is my story of the land acknowledgement. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Jackie. That was lovely. And also to Rose for that prayer. And I think it's very important to understand too, the beauty of both of these things. I think a lot of people see the technical part of that. And I think it's important to also connect to that soul piece, the spirit piece of this work. So thank you for that. And I also see we do have our sixth elder, grandmother has arrived. So Elder Florence, can you hear us? You have to unmute yourself and then we can say hello.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yes,
we hear you now.
I'm here. Okay, but I'm out in the country driving, so
Okay.
it'll be kind of bumpy, I guess.
Okay. Well, like
Yeah.
I said, this is the reality of our new world. Thank you for making it in because it's
Yeah.
the perfect timing. We've done the, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed the prayer and the, what was the other one I missed?
The land acknowledgement, but you actually just caught the
land
end of it.
acknowledgement. Yes,
Yeah.
I wanted so much to hear that, but I was out in the country and just couldn't connect at that time.
That's okay.
But
We have you now, and you know,
here, yes.
you're here for the guts, which is the great part of it. So thank you for joining it. And so I just want to introduce Elder Florence Alexson, who's Soto. So we also are very happy to have her as part of this grandmother circle as well. And I think part of this too is to acknowledge that a lot of the elders are based at certain times within the Treaty 7 area. it just goes to show within an urban center like Calgary, how multi-nation it really is. And we want to respect all those voices. So I am just going to mute you again, Florence, because we hear some driving sounds, and then I'll come back to you because we're now going to start the circle. So, okay. So now all right. So here we go. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to ask our elders to speak to a few questions, possibly just one. And again, this is to celebrate the feminine voice, to hear from our grandmothers. We hear from the community a lot of young women, grown women who feel that need to connect like Indigenous youth or even non-Indigenous youth to the voices, to the wisdom of our grandmothers. So what we're going to talk about now, this is the very first question. We're going to do a round robin. The question is, who are you as an Indigenous woman? Like, what role do you see that like women play within our contemporary life as Indigenous women? So here we go. Who's going to start? We're going to start with Elder Kerrie. So if you could lead us, that would be perfect. And again, who are you as an Indigenous woman, and what's your teaching you'd like to share?
Oh, thank you. Put me on the spot at the very beginning. Nitana ko Mugsanaki, Wapan Mihikina Kakasweo. I was blessed with a Blackfoot name a few years ago. Mugsanaki, I'm very honored by that name, which means red woman. I do love the color red, but that was not the reason that I was given that name. My name is Kerrie Moore. I've been here in this territory for about 46 years. I do come from Saskatchewan, where I am right now. I'm very close to my family reserve, Muscadet, in Saskatchewan. I'm sitting right on the lake. It is the most beautiful place. So if I could bring that sort of image to you to get you all to come down into your spirit. Being a woman, I love being a woman. First of all, I love being a woman. And I know that Creator created me exactly who I am. I identify as a woman. And many of us identify as different things, despite the body we are in. But we are all created as equals, and we are who we are. And so as a woman of my age, as a grandmother myself, we all face challenges in our lives. And I was very, very grateful to have my Cree grandmother who really, really taught me about the values of being human beings. And one of the things that she always taught me was that the women carry the values within them. We carry those values of love and kindness and respect and honesty and accountability, kindness, all of there are 7 Cree grandmother teachings, and I identify as both Cree and Métis. And I think the other piece about that is we identify with who our heritage is, and I come from a very rich heritage of both Cree and Métis. I can't cut those out of there. It's the government that tells me I have to choose one. And as a woman, I'm old enough to say, I can't choose one. This is who I am, and so I always identify as Cree Métis because I really carry the teachings of both, and we're very related on both of those pieces. So we carry the values as females, and it is our role within our families and our communities to teach those values to those children, starting from the time they are babies, and try to hold that energy of those beautiful values. And the other thing my grandmother taught me, and we can teach you many, many things as time goes on, but the other thing I think important for me that really helped me stay focused in my life is that when we're not coming from those values, we're not in our spirit. So when we are not kind and loving and responsible and compassionate and accountable and responsible, we are not in our spirit, and our spirit is where our belly button is, where we're attached to our mothers. And my grandmother used to say to me, the reason you are attached to your mother's in the center of your body is because Creator wants you to remember that that's where you need to think, not here. And so when we're in our spirit, when we have that beautiful smudge at the beginning and that prayer at the beginning, we come down, we're up here, and all of us were today thinking, okay, what are you going to ask me? And we come down into that spirit. What we feel are the values we carry. And then we become responsible to everyone around us. And those are really important teachings in that smudge teaching, is that if we don't begin that way, people are all over the place. And so if we don't start with that spirit, as my grandmother would say, when you need to speak, when you need to think, when you need to make decisions in this world, you have to come from your spirit first. And then what will happen are the values we carry will come forward. And we teach that from the time they are babies, through the love and the kissing and the hugging and the gentle nurturing ways that we teach those babies. If we are not in our spirit, then what you see are the behaviors: anger, anxiety, depression. And so when you see those behaviors and all the things that are attached to that, like jealousy and intolerance and bullying, that's because people are just disconnected. Something's happened to make them disconnected. And it would be our role as grandmothers to take those babies and say, that's okay, what happened? What happened to make you so upset in your life? So we teach those values all of our lives to those babies. It doesn't mean we're always in those values ourselves, because we're human beings and we are faced with all kinds of issues ourselves that we have to try to get to. So my grandmother used to remind us, you're not in your spirit when we were angry at each other. You're not in your spirit, she would say. And what she meant was, I need to get out of my head and go down into those teachings of the teepee. Each of those poles carries another value. So thank you for allowing me to share that. Be in spirit when you're troubled, especially at this time of COVID, and take a breath, and you will find who you really are, the values we carry. What a gift Creator has given us as females to teach that. Doesn't mean the men don't have that. They were taught by those women, remember that. So we carry as human beings the values, all of us, as the greatest gift Creator gave us. So thank you for asking me.
Thank you so much, Kerrie. That was beautiful. So I really appreciate that, and that reminder too, the smudge teaching, and how we're so hectic and just trying to get onto the webinar, and how it is so important to become grounded again. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so Elder Violet, we're going with the north. We're starting north and coming south. So Elder Violet, you are next. And
Okay.
then Rose, you're up after Violet.
Okay. Masi chok. Si. Denesuchine asti. Violet Hushie. Right now, I'm in the far north, right in my traditional territory, Treaty 6 area. And thank you for Treaty 7 always inviting me with a warm heart. I'm living the life that I don't do in Calgary. I'm like Kerrie. The water is here. Crystal clear water. Walking miles and miles of sand between your toes. I can hear the loon. I can hear the birds. Oh, by the way, this morning I'm having a cup of coffee out there and a bear walks by, you know. It's like I truly believe in nature, in the trees welcoming back. Oh, you're home. And talking about culture and traditional, I've got my daughter with me and my granddaughter. We're eating fresh fish from the deep lake. We're cooking it over open fire. Our camp is out there right in the far, in the deep bush. And Doreen, I don't mind the black spiders, okay, just to let you know. And you know, like I am, and this is who I am. And what I demonstrate out here is we are Denisukline women. You don't get the fire going, have the coffee perking. Hurry, Ira, Olivia, gotta go and check the rabbit snares, just like my grandmother did, you know, and now I'm doing it. I'm teaching her, you know, and thank you for the prayer, Rose, for smudging. You know, I really do appreciate that. And Kerrie, you've reinforced the spirituality. You know, the spirituality is when I'm sitting on the lake, the beautiful sunset coming up. Oh, the reflection on the lake. In the evening, it's on the east side. The sun is setting on the lake. Oh man, this is heaven. Do you really want to come back to Calgary? And you know, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't want to wear out my visit with my relatives. She comes back from Calgary just all full of energy, you know, and now before you know it, she'll slither way back in the horizon back to Calgary. And like I always say, you know, I know it's funny and I repeat myself all the time, is my relatives, the other room, tell them that you're coming back up here and stuff. You can't stay down there. That's Nene. That's the Blackfoot country, not yours. But I says they've accepted me. And I don't think Calgary elders would let me go. So I just have to go home in a few days. So like I say, being back here is just on the land is just wonderful, wonderful. Later on this afternoon, I'm going to the our culture building, and in our culture building, there's a huge that covers the whole wall. And not to forget who lived where. My dad, Francis Loth, the Loth family, that's on the trap line. And I thought, oh, you know, the name is up there. I'm visually seeing where we've lived on the well, of course it's military base too, so you got to be very cautious of where to go because of the landmines. You know, they'll tell you not to go in this certain area, you can go into that certain area. But even so, like it's like, I was here first, how dare you tell me where I can go and where I cannot go? But again, for safety reasons, because it's the Cold Lake Air Weapons Range, you know. Yeah, so, you know, I just like to share that with you, that I am back to my true roots. Don't sinek a hotia dase nene tita atita se. Yo sere nilil de decolo. That's okay. That's okay. Just enjoy. You're back to your territory now, and just how do you say that? Breathe in the fresh air. Oh, there's no COVID out here. You know, there isn't. And that's why before coming up here, last Friday, went in to get tested, my daughter and me, and we got the green light on Sunday. Yeah, you can go back there. You're clear, you're negative and stuff. So when, of course, my relatives teased me like, oh my gosh, the numbers are so high in Calgary. What are you doing here? Got tested, never mind. So yeah, having a great time. Just one little, you know, one of the reasons, this had already been planned to come up here. But again, Janet, we shared with you about, we lost one of our, she was only 52, a very close family relative, kayaking down the river here on the Cold River on the Saskatchewan side. And her kayak went under and she never, they found her now, but the water was just too fast and too deep and couldn't get back up on her kayak. So I'm also here to support the family and stuff because, like I say, she was one of the greatest person on our reserve. So just prayers, So Masi Chok, enjoy, Uthe, salute in all my relations. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Violet. And our thoughts are with you with the loss of your family member as well. It is definitely a trying time for many people. I think that's why it's so important to have these kind of circles and support from our elders for sure. So thank you for that. And if anyone wants to hear more from Violet, she does have a webinar in this series next Wednesday. So check it out. How's that for a plug? All right, so we have 20 minutes left. We have 4 elders. So I'm going to turn it over to Rose, and then Florence, you're up after Rose. So that's how we're going to go next. So I invite you now, Rose, Elder Rose, to share your thoughts on what it is to be an Indigenous woman. Hold on, you're muted. You're still muted. You need to unmute. There we go. Can I hear you? No, I still can't hear you.
Hear me?
Yeah, now we do.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay. I don't know what I was going to say. Anyways, it's such an honor to speak like from that grandmother's perspective because yesterday I turned 70 years old, and I was thinking when I was growing up, I had all the human resources, all the capacity, the language, how we prepare food, how we make clothing, how we hunt, and just it was on and on how we gathered for medicine and all that. And as a child, I thought, oh, my grandparents, my mom, they're going to live on forever. And I didn't realize after all that, now I'm in that role. And my role is, it's quite diverse because I have to teach my children, my grandchildren, the community, and all the societies that I belong to, because they're all our children, Regina. They're all our children. So the grandmother's here, you're all my children and your children. And especially with those values and those principles that come along with it. Give them a beef, it's the kindness, like Kerrie mentioned the 7 teachings. Jackie talks about it too. And especially when you're I remember as a little girl, my aunties, my grandmas, and my mom were making a teepee because my dad got elected as a counselor. So everybody came, and my grandma was the one that sewed the back of the teepee because that's where you tie the teepee onto that pole so that it's secure, it doesn't fall off the teepee, and your home is safe. So, and that's what she used to do. They always watch their needles, their threads, all the tools that you're going to use. They do that, and then even when we're going to go pick berries, we smudge our pails and all that, and we're going to go pick roots, the digging stick and smudge. We all smudge ourselves because that way we're protected when we go out and then come back. Right now it's August. We're going to start getting ready for preparing our food, drying our Saskatoon, drying our meat, putting it in park lunches and all that. So in my family, I do that. Even with COVID, I taught my granddaughters how to dry meat. So we made dry meat. And some of you that came to our pipe ceremony, when we opened our thunder pipe, I had dry meat, and I wanted all the elders to be there to share, but I can't. We're only limited on certain people. So my work of duty as being that grandmother, that mother role, and all that traditional, there's lots of duties involved, and also you have to how you carry yourself when you're around people in the community. Sometimes I have that old self. I gotta get aggressive. Why do you want to get this done? But I gotta slow down. And sometimes listening to those stories, many stories were told to me by my traditional grandmothers and my traditional mothers. Those are the ones that when I got into those societies, taught those teachings to me. And all we had to do was listen. We had to listen and observe because we were learning. We were like in class. And sometimes when we go out, when we're going to go get tickets, we're going to go get tickets for the TV, those cakes. There's a ceremony that we use because of the wood. We're thanking Creator for giving us that wood so that it'll protect, hold our TV down. Things like that. Some of us have forgotten those ways, but we still teach them because today our world is so fast. It's just like the snap of your finger. I'm a great grandma. My great grandson learns a lot of stuff. We teach him. The whole family, we almost raise him. We look after his needs. So that way he's protected. So we have to do that with other children that don't have those resources. And I think that as grandmothers, I think this is the start. And I'm so glad we're all getting together discussing those. So thank you for your time. I don't want to talk too long, but thank you and have a really good weekend.
Thank you so much. Great grandmother. Young. You look too young to be, well, no. You look like an amazing great grandmother. And happy birthday from all of us. And I think too, there has been talk with the grandmothers in the circle of continuing this, if it's possible. So I think these teachings are something that we'll like learn upon, like compound on. So thank you for that too, Rose. That was amazing. And so we're now going to go to Florence, and then Jackie, you're up after Florence. And Florence, we have to unmute yourself. And you may want to move your camera a little bit. We can't really see you. We see more of your roof than your face.
Oh.
There you go.
Like that?
Perfect. Yes.
Yay. All right.
Good one.
Okay. I just want to tell you that I guess I'm Sotu. I come from Saskatchewan. I've been a resident there for most of my life until I came to Calgary. But my spirit name is Meganikapu, which means someone who steps forward, and that's Sotu name that was given to me by an elder in Saskatchewan. And the reason why it was given to me was I was such a person who didn't speak out or just kind of like hiding around is what I myself felt like. I didn't want to be seen in the public, or I didn't want to speak out, and he gave me this name. So he said it was a strong name that would help me throughout my life to come forward and come out of my shell. And I see a lot of that has happened during my lifetime. I am here now with the elder ladies, and you know, I would have never done that before in my whole life. And I'm so happy to be accepted into the Treaty 7 ladies grandmas, and and I'm happy to be here. I just wanted to say, Rose, happy birthday, and you've caught up to me. I always thought I was the oldest one in the group, but now we're together. And so then I am also going to be a great grandma pretty soon. My granddaughter's having a little boy, and she's going to be having that one at the end of September. So I'll be so happy when that little boy comes. And in my family, like with my sons, I had 4 sons in my family, no girls. And then when I started getting my grandchildren, I had 1 granddaughter and then 5 grandsons. So now my granddaughter's starting again with 1 grandson. So I'm really happy about that. You know, I feel blessed. But anyways, getting back to my my childhood, I guess I didn't attend too much school because I was kind of sickly when I was a child, and I was in a hospital. I remember the hospitals, and after that, I was sent off to residential school, and there I was there for quite a few years, and during that time, well, it was such a rough place that, you know, things I don't really want to remember. It's just something that I can't talk about right now. But anyways, coming out of my shell, like I said, I always thought the white people were always the top dogs, I guess you say. And whenever I was around one non-native person, well, I would just cringe and always thought that they were superior and that I should, you know, not speak to them at all. And that carried out mostly through my life, and because I was sent off to also to non-native foster homes, and they tried to bring me up in the right way, but they didn't know also how to treat me because of my color and my I guess my gender. I'm not sure, but they always seemed to be bossing me around, and I always thought, well, that was what was supposed to happen. I didn't realize that I could reject that. So therefore, I ran away from the homes mostly, and I didn't stick with them because I wasn't treated properly there. So that was my childhood and my teen years. So now I'm coming down to my adulthood, and that's where I met Wallace, and immediately we engaged, and I've been with him for 51 years. I've lived with the same man, and I guess we're kind of about the same person because he was brought up pretty bad himself throughout his life. So it was, so that's how we became together and having our children and that. But when we moved, I self-educated myself. I put myself back into school to get my education and that, and starting to work in the oil companies. I had to push myself all the time to get into these areas of training and working, and I've been there for quite a while into the oil and gas. I think it was about 35 years I spent working, and this also helped me with my personality. And then from there, it just escalated, and now I'm a grandmother. I just never thought I would reach this age, you know. And now I'm going to be a great grandmother. It's just something that I never thought, you know. I thought, oh my God, I said, geez, it's been many years. But, you know, I have to thank my parents too, because they were, even though they were hardly there to see me growing up, because they were up in age already when I was born. I was the youngest one. And so when I was growing up, they didn't really have the time for me because they were busy with their own life. But I did get some teachings from them as well. but the language, that's something that I lost along the way. I am trying to regain some of that back, and once in a while it just clicks in my mind what my dad would say when he got up in the morning, or just little things like even rabbit is wapus, and those little words like that I can remember. And I would every morning my mother would she liked hunting rabbits, and she very early in the morning, and then in the evening she would go check her traps again. So things like that I remember a lot, and I knew my mother was a good woman and my dad was an excellent father. So that's about the size of my life, how it went, and I'm grateful to that. Thank you so much for letting me speak. Miigwech.
Miigwech. Thank you so much for that, Florence. And it really does show like the impact of childhood and what you have, like, and how different people come in and out of your life, and the important roles of a grandmother or a parent in terms of shaping, and how the role that you might not have had earlier, you now have within your family. So thank you so much for sharing that. That was very brave. I appreciate that. I'm just looking at the time. So I'm just gonna extend this to 10 minutes past 2. So if you have to go, I understand the webinar is recorded, so you can always come back and catch the end. I just want to make sure that we give all of our grandmothers a chance to speak, and we will have a prayer at the end as well. So again, I understand people's time is precious, so if you're welcome to stay with us or join the webinar later, the recording. So Jackie, you're next up, and then Doreen, you're going to take us home as the person who convened the circle. So Jackie,
Okay.
I invite you to speak.
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to just speak a little bit about my, I was raised by my grandparents, and like I always say, I'm very proud that I was raised by my grandparents. I am able to speak my Blackfoot language fluently because that's all I ever heard in my younger years. Growing up before I went to residential school was Blackfoot. And even my culture, what I learned as a young girl, it keeps me grounded. And when I go to these bundle openings, it really brings back good memories. And I'm very sorry, Rose, I didn't go to your bundle opening, and I'll be there next year. There's a reason why. And my responsibility as a grandmother, I value what my grandparents gave me, the kindness. And I always use the 7 sacred teachings. I'm just going to quickly say something about one of the 7 sacred teachings is to build a community is entirely dependent on a gift that are given to each member by the Creator and how these gifts are used. The beaver's example of using his sharp teeth for cutting trees and branches to build his dams and lodges expresses his teachings. He did not use his teeth, if he did not use his teeth, the teeth would continue to grow until they become useless, ultimately making it impossible for him to sustain himself. The same can be said for human beings. One's spirit will grow weak if it is not fulfilling its use. When used properly, however, those gifts contribute to the development of a peaceful and healthy community. And when I talk about that, I'm referring to the 7 sacred teachings a lot of us have mentioned. And yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Well, and that was lovely. And can I say that if anyone wants to hear Jackie talk more about the 7 sacred teachings, August 18th, we're having a whole webinar just based on that with Jackie. So how's that for a shameless plug as well? So, thank you for sharing
Thank you.
That was beautiful. And I think too, Jack, you know, when I listened to Elder Jackie, that ability to have your language and how that shaped you and how that's shaping you now is so key. And we have heard from all of our grandmothers and we hear from the elders how important that language is and how important it is to instill it in the youth as they're growing up as the next generation. So thank you so much for sharing that beautiful teaching as well. And so, okay, we're not too bad. It's 2 o'clock. We're a little late, but we're just going on next to Elder Doreen, who, I don't know if you want to speak a bit about it, Doreen, but who actually had this idea for the circle and brought everyone together. And maybe you want to speak a bit about what inspired you, and then what else do you want to share with us today? And you're still muted. Oh. So Doreen, can you, oh, there you are. Yeah.
Wouldn't let me unmute. Thank you, Jackie. And I'm so grateful all these beautiful grandmas that agreed to come and share the circle. And I hope this is just the beginning of more circles that we can even join, let others, grandmothers from our knowledge keepers to join and give guidance to help our young people. When we get together, we all talk about wanting to help our youth. So I thought, let's start with just this first circle, and if it works, then we can continue. If we need to find some other way, we can just keep adding different means of how to help our young people. And they can tell us what will work and what won't. But I just want to get things started. So thank you, you wonderful women, grandmothers, for joining us. And Janet, thanks for facilitating everything. We couldn't have done this without you. Thank you so much. Just quickly, for us who didn't have grandparents to give us that tradition and our culture support and learning, I was one of them too. I had to just survive in residential school alone. And when I left residential school, went to Lethbridge, finished my grade 11 and grade 12. And after my business training, I came to Calgary. And throughout all of this, I never had that cultural support and to be taught by my grandparents of our traditions and what that meant. But somewhere I had spent, when we were allowed to leave residential school during the summer and Christmas and Easter, I was sent to my grandmother, and I spent those times with her. And I give her a lot of thanks and lots of love, because it was her that kept me to keep my Blackfoot language. Otherwise, I would have lost it, because my parents didn't speak Blackfoot all the time because they spoke English. But it was my grandmother who always spoke to me in Blackfoot. So I would, when I was out there by myself, I had to survive. And in residential school, I learned how to survive. And then when I left residential school, I still, up to till today, I still survive on my own. I never had anybody to help me. So I think of our young people, and I don't want them to be in that to go through that same path. We've got such beautiful grandmothers here and in our Knowledge Keepers group that we can help these young people and try to help them go back to their roots and their traditions and their cultures, because we're all different. If we could just help these young people to give them that support and some understanding, and when you need some guidance or you want to talk to someone, all those beautiful women are there to help you. Because our young women, you're our future, and we want to give you that support to make you that strong women that you guys need to be, because you're the ones that are going to carry on our culture and our traditions, our languages. So we want to be on that same path with you to help you, to be a resource for you so that we can help you become that strong woman that you guys should be. That's how our Blackfoot women were. They took care of the house. And even some women, if they chose not to be taking care of the house, they were allowed to be part of the hunting, to become a warrior and to go alongside to hunt with the men and even go to war. So that's what I did some research, and I found that out with the Blackfeet Nation. So I think that's just amazing, the roles that our women, we are so strong. As women, as Native women, we need to go back to our culture and traditions, because it's so important to speak our language. It's amazing the comfort you get when you're exercise your traditions, the smudge and the prayer. Like, it gives you that strength for that day to face whatever comes in your path. We're always asking our Creator to hear our prayers and guide us through what we need to do for that day. And when I started I just was in the Western world. So, and then when Reg and Rose told me to come join their group, they taught me the smudge and how important it was to go back to my culture. I really learned how to be humble, and the smudge just made me so happy, and it makes you, give you that strength and that love to continue and to enjoy our life. And I'm so grateful every day of what I have, which I never did in the past. For the young people, we want to walk with you and to learn and understand your culture and then traditions and hopefully your language. So if we can help you in any way, I hope we can. You can reach out to us, and we're also trying to get an Indigenous gathering place for all our people can get together. So if we can get that Indigenous gathering place, all the resources will be there for you to help you on your journey. So I'd like to leave with you to ask you to research what Jackie's talking about, the 7 sacred teachings, and start to think about using them as a guide on your journey. And also what Rose talked about as the smudge. to learn to practice and use smudging and to help you guide you through every day. Thank you so much. And thank you all your beautiful grandmothers for being here and sharing your wise and your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Doreen. I had never heard that story about your grandmother, and that was very touching. So it's a webinar. In these series, I have tears, and so that was like beautiful. And I actually want to read, some of you are on the phone, a comment from Leanne, who's on the webinar with us today. And she says, as a young Métis woman who have not had grandparents in my life, this group has really touched my spirit and my heart. I can't thank these grandmothers enough.
Thank you.
So, you know, I think that really summarizes it for everybody, the power for young women, especially who have not had that role in their life, and the role that stepping forward, the important role that you can play as we go forward with this work. So thank you for that. I'm now going to ask, I think we decided that Florence is going to do our closing prayer for us. So we started with our Blackfoot grandmother. We want to respect all the multi-nations here in the area. So Florence, we're going to ask you to do our closing prayer. We'll have to unmute you. So I'm unmuting you now. If you could unmute yourself. And again, I want to thank all of the grandmothers who came here today. You're beautiful. Your teachings are amazing. I just left. I'm going to feel inspired. And I know Marissa also on the call says, thank you for your teachings. It was lovely. I know you've touched all of our hearts. So I'll turn it over to you, Florence, to do a closing prayer for us. And then we are done for today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for asking me. I don't have smudge with me right now. And so I'll just say it out here.